So does this mean that teachers are changing how they teach?
I think they are, because they're giving the children it's much more individualised programme. We've got a lot of children with special educational needs, and those children make huge use of the laptops, and that really helps them. The more advanced pupils, or the higher achieving pupils if you like, would use the laptops when they want to. So it means it's accessible when they want it, and the teachers can work out individual programmes for the children. They also use certain software. So for example, if the teacher's teaching from the front of the class and using the smartboard, they'll use software where they can log into all the computers and stop them and show examples of what one child's been doing to the other children. So I think the whole way of them planning their lessons has changed as well. It makes planning easier as well, but it really does help with individualised learning, I think.
You're using computers quite a lot, and you've got the children with their whole cohorts. If they weren't able to use the computers, what kind of impact would that have on their learning?
I'd be really sorry not to have the computers, and in fact, not just sorry, it's made such a difference to us that now we've changed our whole IT strategy, and we've got a longer term IT strategy that means that we're going to have a rolling programme of these computers throughout the school. So the next cohort that comes up, we're going to get more of these laptop computers, so that in a sense the IT doesn't become the end, but it becomes the means to the learning. That's what we really want, and we want them to have access to the IT when they want it, not just for 1 hour or 2 hours a week in the computer suite, but we want them to be able to use it when they're doing their investigations, when they're doing their inquiries, across the board. It doesn't really matter what subject it is. It could be maths, it could be science, literacy, investigations in history and geography. But, you know, for example, we were able to respond very netbooks recently in the Japanese tsunami. A year 5 group actually had access to the netbooks, and were able to research very quickly about Japan, where it was, about the geology, what caused the tsunami, what was the effect in terms of, on the people. They were able to go onto the BBC website straight away. They were able to do this in their classroom. They were able to get together in groups and record. They recorded it on paper, but they also recorded their findings on PowerPoint and other presentations. So they were able to respond very quickly to a global event, and that's what we want. We want that ability to respond in their learning and to be able to use IT, so that, as I say, the IT doesn't become the end. It's a means to the learning.
So you're getting your pupils to make more and more use of computers. What's going to happen when they leave the primary school and go on to secondary school?
Oh, there's the rub. We're very lucky because our secondary school, which most of the children go to, our feeder secondary school, is very keen on technology, and they facilitate the children to have their own laptops. But I think if we weren't feeding into a secondary school that was doing that, I think that it would be a real backward step for those children. I mean, for example, when our internet went down here and we had a problem with our server, they were really disappointed that they couldn't get onto the internet and they couldn't use the laptops in the way they'd been used to using for research and that kind of thing. And it was very frustrating for them and for the teaching staff as well. So if they were suddenly going into secondary school and having to have a whole different approach to learning, that would be a big problem for them, I think, because they're so used to being independent, they're so used to researching, they're so used to be able to devise their own inquiries and own investigations using their laptops. So if they couldn't do that, I think it would be a big problem. So in our case, we're actually lucky because the secondary school is very progressive and has taken that on board.
So do you think that you're now producing that the pupils when they leave the school are significantly better learners than they used to be?
Definitely, they're more interested in learning, and the learning has been internalised, and they're more in charge of their own learning, and they're more enthusiastic as well. And a lot of that is down to excellent teaching, of course, and the teachers being on top of the technology, but a lot of it is down to the technology that we're using as well. I think that really has had an effect.
Do they realise that this is the kind of thing they're going to have to be doing through their adult life?
That's the point we make all the time in this school, that we're preparing them not to sit tests at the end of year 6, but we're preparing them to be lifelong learners, and that's a phrase that's bandied about and used a lot, but we really, really mean that. We want to prepare them so that they can take charge of their own learning, and also so that they're interested in learning through their lives, and so technology will help them in that way. We know that they'll need to use these techniques even more when they get older. They'll need to use research, they'll need to use individualised learning programmes even more throughout secondary, and hopefully for a lot of them onto college and university. And we know that they need to do that, and it would be such a shame not to start it as early as you can. It's why not?